Okay, so let me go back to sharing my screen. There you go.
All right, because actually the first introduction is going to be Carol, and then I have a little introduction myself, and we'll go into the rest of the central office staff. Carol, did you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Carol Shaw. I'm the section chief in this Lakes and Rivers program, and we supervise the AIS program as well as the surface water grants and the aquatic plant management permit program. So there's three major components. So some of you looking at the list are well aware of that. You've been around, and some of you are brand new. So I just wanted to give a little introduction myself and I guess welcome you if you're new to the network, and thank you if you're been part of it for continuing to participate in it. The purpose of the network is just to create kind of a statewide baseline, if you will, of AIS presence or prevention. Protection efforts are much more cost effective than dealing with management. And so one of our goals was to try and create a statewide network of that. The power in the network is we have limited amount of money and a few staff who are dedicated to AIS prevention. And then by working with you, which is a bigger group, we can help you help local folks, citizens, like organizations, that sort of thing, which is even a bigger pool of people. So that's kind of the power of the network. Feel free to ask for help anytime. And we're also very interested in your feedback about how the network is being received out there and how things are working and what's not working. We're here, and you're going to meet some of these folks here in a little bit, here to help you, but we're only as good as what we can have as far as good feedback from you all. So part of the network also is that you're all part of the same network, and you can learn from each other and share ideas and come to us with some united ideas on how we can continue to make improvements. It's still pretty early in the evolution of this program. We're still making tweaks, trying to improve the communication and changing the format sometimes of these kinds of things to better address needs. So I guess just patience, and again, thanks for being part of the network. And we'll take any questions you have right off the bat, or I can wait.
I'm not sure.
Just
I'm not sure.
Sit back and listen then.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. Carol, you must have been like eavesdropping on my little speech thing that I just wrote too.
Sorry.
It
doesn't hurt to repeat it.
Exactly. I just wanted to say I'm Amy Kretlow, the Aquatic Invasive Species Program Coordinator, and I'm happy to welcome you all to the Lake Monitoring Protection Network. We are starting our third year of this new program, and I'm excited to see this program grow and progress. Through this program, we are seeing AIS engagement in places where we haven't seen it. And while also this program is moving forward, we're also seeing more consistency through the state with the core network activities, which is exciting. We didn't have always that consistency through the state. Because it is our year 3, we are still tweaking and working on improvements, and you all play a role in that improvement process. The program is a partnership, and we all have the same goals in mind. Your input is valuable, and we welcome any and all feedback that as we continue to improve the program. Please don't hesitate at all to communicate any feedback, concerns, or even we love hearing your success stories, your AIS biologists, or even feel free to reach out to me. I always say how I have an open door policy. But that's what I really want to do is thank you all for your hard work that you guys do out there. We wouldn't have such a successful AIS program in our state if it wasn't for all of you. So thank you. With that all being said, I have a couple slides here that I sent to Jeannie just to show everybody will be able to will unmute themselves and just give themselves a quick introduction, because I wanted you to hear them introduce themselves, but we have the central office staff, then we'll go into the regional staff, and then we also have our statewide program leads to introduce themselves. So I'm going to mute and let it go on to the rest of the central office staff, but thank you all for being here.
So everyone on the, I assume you're seeing the slide, you can just go ahead and we'll just work our way through it, starting with Jake.
Jake might not be on yet.
Oh, I thought I saw him come in. Well, Sarah, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Fanning. I am a surface water grant specialist out of central office, but perhaps more relevant to you, I am the LMPN grant administrator, as well as the CBCW grant administrator, for those of you who also participate in CBCW program. I work very closely with Laura McFarland, who does a lot of the community finance aspects of LMPN and getting our funds approved. But I am the person that is working to get your money to you effectively. I process your advance payments, your grant agreements, first of all, the grant advance payments, making sure that I have approval to process your final your final reimbursement requests as well. Just helping make sure to get those funds out to you so you can continue to do the great work you do across the state. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. And I'm just going to jump in really quick. Greta, before you go, Jake just messaged me. He was double muted, so he's going to go next.
All right, can you all hear me now?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay, sorry about that. My name's Jake Dickman. I'm the Water Quality IT Project Manager, formerly known as the SWIMS Data Manager. So I manage all water quality IT projects, or help to manage them. And part of that is managing the SWIMS database and the data within it. So a lot of the volunteers are all the volunteers collecting data for Clean Boats, Clean Waters, like monitoring or any other volunteer initiative. And you're helping to coordinate that. We'll enter their data there, so you'll be a great support for them. And I'm here to support you in any data needs that you might need.
That brings us to Greta.
Hi, everyone.
There.
Yep, I'm here. Hi, everyone. My name is Greta Helmuller. I am the AIS Research Assistant out of Central Office. I work really closely with Michelle Nault. Some of the main, I guess, AIS-related things that I do is I make a lot of fact sheets and other outreach materials around just AIS management in general, but then also some of the AIS research projects that are sponsored through the department. And I also help with field work for our long-term monitoring over the summer.
Thank you. I don't see Maddie. So let's go ahead and go on to Maureen. If Maddie gets here, then we'll catch up with her.
Maureen, you're muted.
Bummer. It was a really great intro. You guys missed it. Let's see if I can recreate that. Hi, I'm Maureen Kelscher. I'm the statewide Aquatic Invasive Species Monitoring Lead. So I provide guidance to all the DNR lake, stream, and wetland biologists on how to look for and report invasive species, and then some guidance to the citizen programs. And your guys' effort is like so helpful across the state. So like, thanks for all your work.
Thank you. Laura had let us know she's not going to be here today. Michelle, are you on?
Yeah, I am, and hopefully you can hear me.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. I am Michelle Nault. I'm the Lakes and Reservoir Ecologist with the DNR Central Office team. My role is to help kind of provide a degree of technical support to our internal staff and partners on a fairly wide variety of lake management issues. I work closely with our other program leads in AIS and APM, and then our surface water grant team. I also help kind of coordinate our aquatic invasive species research and demonstration grant category. I spent a little time prior to this as a AIS regional coordinator. So I do have a fair amount of background in the AIS world. And I know that you guys do an incredible amount of work, and we're really fortunate to have such great partnership and network here in Wisconsin. So nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Matt?
Hey everyone, Matt Puz. I am the Wetland Invasive Plant Specialist that covers the state. I primarily focus on Phragmites as a species, but I also work closely with Amy and the other AIS regional coordinators where wetland species are concerned.
And let's see. And then I'm Jeannie Shear. I am actually with Extension, work out of the DNR central office with the Lakes and Rivers section with most of the people, pretty much all the people, all the people that you just were meeting. And I do a lot of different things to support the LMPN. I also coordinate the Purple Loosestrife Biocontrol program, and I'm an aquatic invasive species outreach specialist. Did anyone see if Maddie came on? Don't see her showing up in the participant list. Also, we have a lot of great LTEs, that's limited term employees, who work with the DNR staff. So we wanted to make sure we give them a shout out. We've got Maria working with Maureen and Amy, and the regional coordinators have great partners too. We've got Emily that works with Maddie, and who's the aquatic plant management team leader, who's Maddie, and then Abby, who just started working with Jake. And I know I'm forgetting a couple of you, but we appreciate all that they are doing behind the scenes too. So Amy, I think we'll go on to your next slide, right?
Yep, that sounds great. So I also wanted to, I have a slide here for all our regional AIS biologists, and I believe they're all present here too. I have, I love this slide because it does show a picture of them. You know, it just kind of brings it home to that, you know, that they're in place and they're here to help you and work with you. And, you know, so I want each one of them to, if they can unmute and quickly introduce themselves and say hi to the partners. We'll start up in the southeast. Patrick.
Oh, I didn't think I was going to be first. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Patrick Suula. I'm the AIS coordinator and biologist covering the southeast portion of the state. So most of the southern half of the Lake Michigan basin, as well as some inland counties, kind of the southeast part of south central Wisconsin. So I've been in this position, getting close to a year and a half now. So I'm really grateful, like everyone said, for all the work you all do, and especially all you Southeast region partners. Shout out. We've got a great group in Southeast, and I'll just reiterate what Amy said, you know, open door policy. And many of you know that, but feel free to call, email, text, whatever you need. I'm here to help. So nice to meet you all.
And we'll go clockwise. Shelby, if you want to go next.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Shelby Adler, and I cover the kind of south central, southwestern portion of the state. I've been in my position same amount of time as Patrick, a little over a year now. And prior to that, I did a little stint with UW Extension and was around for the beginning of LMPN. Before that, as an LTE with the DNR. So I'm excited to start another year of LMPN with the same partners and a few new ones. And yep, I'm always here to help, call, email, text.
That's what I'm here for. Thank you, Shelby. Tyler.
Afternoon, everyone. Tyler Masalk here. I am kind of the West Central and parts of the Northwest Regional AIS Coordinator. For folks that don't know who I am, same with Patrick and Shelby. I've been with the department in this position for about 1.5 years. Prior to that, a few years in the aquatic plant management world, so very well versed in A to Z as far as management with aquatic invasive species. And then same as everybody else, very much an open door policy. Any issues, any thoughts, ideas you got, feel free to send them my way, email, call, text, anything is perfectly fine with me. Doors always open. Just if you got an idea, I'm willing to work with you and send it my way.
Thank you, Tyler. Alex.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex Sell. I'm the Lake Superior and Northwestern Wisconsin Aquatic Invasive Species Coordinator with the DNR based out of the Ashland office. As others have said, any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to give me a call or shoot me an email.
Thank you, Alex. And Amanda.
Hey, good afternoon. Amanda Smith here. I'm the Northeast Region AIS Coordinator, and I'm based out of the Green Bay office, and ditto to what all my counterparts said. Really excited for this next year of LMPN, and thanks for all that you do.
Thank you, Amanda. All right, so my last slide of introductions is statewide program leads, and I'm not sure who's all, I believe everybody's here, but if Katie, Emily, Aaron, and Paul, Jeannie, we've heard from you, but we can do a quick intro of what you do for the biocontrol again, but you guys can just go through the list and introduce yourselves. That would be awesome, so everybody can learn who you are. Thank you.
Awesome. I'm Katie Bradford. I'm the program manager for Water Action Volunteers, which is our statewide volunteer stream monitoring program, very similar to the Citizen Lake Monitoring Program. And I am based in Madison. I work at the UW-Madison Extension, but of course we collaborate very closely with the DNR and support volunteer stream monitoring programs all over the state. So I know I work with a bunch of you already. And if you're interested in including volunteer stream monitoring as part of the work you do, just get in touch.
Hi, I'm Emily Heald. I'm the Rivers Educator for UW-Madison Division of Extension. I'm also based out of Madison, and I coordinate Snapshot Day. That's our annual AIS scavenger hunt for volunteers, and I also coordinate Project Red, which is AIS monitoring on moving waters.
Hi, everyone. I'm Erin McFarland. I'm the statewide Clean Boats, Clean Waters educator. I work for UW Stevens Point, and I'm based here in Stevens Point out of the College of Natural Resources. I primarily support the Clean Boats, Clean Waters program and will work closely with all of you in the Lakes Monitoring Protection Network, as well as the volunteers and grant-funded watercraft inspectors around the state.
I'm back. Well, I'm Jeannie Shear, and for the purposes of this slide, I am Purple Loosestrife Biocontrol Coordinator for the state, and we'll talk more about that later.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Paul Skowinski. I'm also with the Extension Lakes team, working with Aaron in the College of Natural Resources at UW Stevens Point. So I manage the Citizen Lake Monitoring Network as a whole at a statewide level. I work closely with everyone else on this list here and coordinate what our volunteers do with what staff do around the state and help support both the staff and the volunteers statewide. I also teach aquatic plant taxonomy here at UW Stevens Point, so you'll hear an invitation from me this spring to join our plant ID workshops that we offer every summer. You'll hear a little bit more about that on tomorrow's Lakes Partnership call too, if you're going to be joining us for that. So if you need anything with lake monitoring, especially volunteer-based lake monitoring, feel free to contact me. Email is usually the best way, but I'm happy to get in touch with you and discuss ideas anytime.
Hey, thank you. And Amy, did you have anything else?
Nope, I am done. But thank you everybody for joining today and welcome.
Alrighty. So back to me. Kind of popcorn back and forth here. So I'm just, excuse me, gonna just go over some of the resources for tools of the trade. And I'm gonna shut down my video here. So two of the primary things that we use for all of you to dig into as helpful resources are the UW box, which is a file sharing system. We have one piece of it called the AIS LMPN toolbox. I'll show you a little more in a moment. It's just loaded full of folders that I have. They focus on outreach program. There's a photo library that can be very helpful if you're putting together things for your partners locally. There's so much information in there from previous meetings and webinars and PowerPoints, and it's fun kind of just to explore. And then our partnership website is what I want to really dig into because it helps get us to all those other places. And so it's a Google site that I was able to create as part of Extension. And so it's public, but we really only share it with each other. If the general public runs into it, it's not a problem, but it's primarily meant for us. And it's loaded with things like calendars for partner events, trainings, meetings. If you need to find out who the contacts are really quick. Oh, thank you, Emily. Yeah, I've got a whole page of those, but it's hard to talk and enter those things into chat. She just put the link into chat for us. And then there's pages for outreach programs. So let's just show it to you. So I'm dragging it over here. So if anyone cannot see it, let me know. I got the chat window off to my side open. So here's the partnership webpage. And one of the first things you see is AIS partnership box, because that's the other piece, but we're going to skip that for a second. We can come back to that. So, excuse me, on the home page, if you scroll on down, well, we've got the link to the management plan. And then if you scroll down, whoops, our state is growing and shrinking. This is just a little Google map of us. If you click this little icon up here in the upper left, you can see what the colors mean by region. There's a couple little boo-boos on here I need to fix, but you can open them up. If you scroll all the way down, there's a section for the DNR statewide contacts, and then the extension lakes contacts. So if you click on any of them, like we want to know, where's Sarah? Whoops, she's in Iowa. No, that's Allie. I got to fix that anyway because Allie's gone now. Like I said, there's a few little boo-boo. Jake, I think you work because it worked this morning. So Jake's home office is here in Madison. Post-COVID, let me clarify. Jake's work office is in Madison. He has a home office too, and many of us do. So these are reflecting where our primary offices are. So that's one way you can find us if you wanted to see, okay, where's the Pete shop keys, contact information. This is a spot you can go if you need to reach out to Pete for something, maybe get his ideas as a long-term AIS person. And then we have the calendar page. I just recently separated this from the contacts page. This one, here we are at our LMPN orientation. It opens, I can't get mine to default to anything other than this, but you can change it to a month view, a week view. You can even click this little icon and the calendar will completely jump out. And then if you scroll down, whoops, with the sidebar, not the calendar bar, down here are all the stuff we have to look forward to throughout the year. And if I have dates already for them, you will see that they are on the calendar as next updates. So the first section is campaigns and events. The conventions and conferences are next that we normally go to. And then typical meetings. Ooh, hint, hint, May 9th through 10th, something is a-coming. And then things we don't know about, we don't put on next up, obviously. Monthly Lakes and Rivers call that Paul mentioned is tomorrow. So if you didn't get an email from Eric Olson because you're not on that list and you want to know more, please shoot me an email or shoot one to your regional coordinator. They can help you out. And here's some of the things you can look forward to for trainings over the course of the year. And the majority of this, of course, takes place over the next few months. So for important contacts, the program coordinators, Jake for help with swims. Jake, sounds like I need to rewrite your title there, don't I? Program specific, everyone's emails and phone numbers are in here. And then statewide contacts that are DNR are the next ones down. And then we have that same map that Amy showed without the pictures. The more tab is definitely more. And this is growing all the time. I'm always thinking of new things. If you guys think of things you want on here, let me know. One of the things we started doing a couple of years ago are these small bites trainings. Several of them, well, they were all but one or two recorded. And the ones that have been transcribed with captioning are all listed here. And there's lots of handy things. There's some just general information about signage, prevention tools, the bait shop initiative, working with media. That's a really good one that Chris Hamela and Chris Acey put together a couple of years ago. DNR mapping tools that Jake did that one for us. And this working with wardens is really good. If you are going to be out working Clean Boats, Clean Waters, training people to do it, there's some excellent information in here from Bob Strauss. And there'll be more coming to these. We had some glitches getting the ones from last year done, but we do have some, and more are planned for this year. Haven't decided yet if they'll be live or just recorded, and then we'll hold like a Q&A time or something, but more to come. And if you have ideas, please go ahead and email me. For the LMPN grant program, it's just very brief on here. Instead, we have links. So this is our recording to our orientation last year. I am recording this so we can put an updated one here. But you see, box is listed here as the link. A lot of the links on these pages actually jump back to box, which is my transition over there. So here's everything you need to know for being able to get into box. There's some steps you have to take. I share links to this now and then. More often nowadays, I share links to the website in our newsletter, but make sure you visit the website and check this out. And now I'm going to actually drag box over to the screen. So this is what the box looks like. If I click on my all files, I've got a bunch of them going here. So, but when you join, if you don't have any other folders, or you're just looking for ours among others, you're going to click on the Wisconsin AIS Partnership. And then if it doesn't open organized like this, click on the name heading a couple of times. It'll put it in alphabetical order. And I do silly things like I name things main file contents, so that you can get to the folder I want you to actually see first. And this goes through, and it's basically a table of contents. So you just can open that and go through it. Because I have been working so hard on the website, I guarantee you there are things in box that are a little outdated. if you have everything you want to open in this, you'd have an option to open. You probably need editing privileges, so you're better off just go ahead and clicking download for anything you want to get out of here. And I can go back like that. So there's two main things that I see people use, well, three actually, but what am I looking for? Here's the partner toolbox that I mentioned. So like I said, these are just files. So you click on it. We've got a start here folder. Quite often though, I see people go into this one right here, and Sarah keeps this up to date with items that you need. And these are linked to also the ones you need are probably linked from the website. If not, the website will send you over here where you can dig out the pieces you need and download them. Then the other thing I like to see people use all the time are the AIS photos. And we have just all sorts of stuff in here. The species folder is very, very popular. People nab pictures, people add pictures. You can all add to this. You anybody who's added to Box, going through the steps on the Box tab on the website, you have viewer uploader privileges. So you can add to the specific folders. If you're going to say you've got a bunch of butterfly dock pictures, Petacites, I think you can make your own folder. If you cannot, just let me know. I'll make you a folder and then you can upload directly into that so people know who to credit the picture to. Always name a picture with a date and your name so people know who to credit. So make sure you use that. But just basically, once you get signed up for Box, if you're not already, just have fun and explore it. Let's see, I think that's all I had on those two things. There's that. We already have that in there. And then get the news. Make sure if anybody's new or has new people coming on that you want to have get on our partnership newsletter listserv. We do send things occasionally now by themselves, but most of the time it's just a Wednesday newsletter. They can email me for that. For the programs, if they have a newsletter, which everybody has a listserv or a newsletter, you just email the program coordinators. And if you forget them, remember they're on the contacts page on our website. And that's what I've got. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Sarah. Let's see, Sarah, I'm going to stop my share so you'll be able to.
Great. Yeah, I've got my own presentation on my computer that I'll share quickly here. And let me know when you're able to see it.
I see it.
Great. Make it presentation mode. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jeannie, for those quick walkthroughs of the resources that are available for the LMPN program. Like Jeannie said, we're going to transition to what does a complete LMPN cycle look like? While everyone here has successfully applied for and received an LMPN allocation, I'm going to walk through the grant cycle from the very beginning to the very end with all the important milestones there, especially for the benefit of folks who are new to the LMPN. But also there are certain points in a given year where two grant cycles will have overlapping activities. So I'm going to also highlight those moments in our cycle as well. I'll be brief in my overview of the application process since we all just worked through that portion of the year. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of get through this pretty quickly. And I think we had 30 minutes on the agenda for this, this portion of the meeting, but I think I'll be able to do it under time from that. So let's walk through each step of the grant cycle timeline together. As you can see, there are quite a few very important milestones on this timeline. So we'll just jump right into it. So all surface water grant applicants are encouraged to check their ability, their eligibility by May 1st to apply for and receive a grant before the grant year. So for example, if an organization is looking to apply for a grant during the 2024 grant cycle, we encourage them to confirm their eligibility in May of 2023, just to get all of their ducks in a row and make sure that they're ready to go for planning and the application process. So counties and tribal governing bodies are automatically eligible to receive their LMPN allocation. Eligibility then becomes relevant for considering those who intend to use a designated agent. Organizations should be reviewed every 10 years, or if they had a change in bylaws since they were last reviewed. And the regional environmental grants specialists will assist in that reviewing process of an organization's eligibility. So for our purposes, that would be Jill Sunderland, Gina Keenan, and Chrissy Kozik, who will look over those eligibility materials that you submit. Continuing on, by June 1st, the department will publish and release the allocation amounts for LMPN for the upcoming grant cycle, the applicant guide, as well as all of the updated forms that you'll be utilizing to apply. New guidance is made available on the DNR's Surface Water Grants website, which hopefully by this point everybody's pretty familiar with and has used and relied on pretty heavily as they've made it through this application process previously. Each year, we will publish updated guidance on our Surface Water Grants homepage, which you can access by utilizing that link on the Surface Water Grants webpage that's circled in red. This is where you'll find guidance on applying, application deadlines for this year, network activities, reporting, and reimbursements. This is a very long document, and we highly encourage everybody to read through all of the information and appendices that are relevant to their grants. In this instance, using Control F on PCs and I believe Command F on Mac computers is highly valuable. Especially if you're going back to it to refer to how to maybe do a final report or what expenses are eligible for a reimbursement request. You can just use that search function to take you directly to where you want to go in that document, so you're not flipping through it page by page. I believe in previous meetings, we've kind of talked about the changes that were made to the guidance for this grant cycle, but I'll just very briefly kind of go through them. Virtual meeting attendance. Meetings are a very common deliverable for the LMPN program. Attendance must be adequately and accurately recorded via means that are outlined in that guidance document or approved in advance by DNR staff. And then we also have a table of program approved protocols in that applicant guide. So if you're planning to use a DNR protocol for your LMPN activities, you'll be able to find that in that guidance document. And it's been edited to cite updated methods and protocols when appropriate, and then the version of the protocol or the date that it was added to those protocol citations. There are also some additional changes to clarify some policies that we have. One of those clarifications is that administrative costs are limited to 10% of the total cost share for our LMPN, not the total project costs. And then we also made the clarification that LMPN participants must reapply every year to receive their annual award. All intended applicants should notify the regional DNR AIS coordinator of their intent to apply prior to September 2nd, and first-time applicants must submit a pre-application. So we put that clarification in there. Obviously, everybody was aware of that since we're beyond the application process, but drawing attention to that as well. And then I always think it's important to let you all know that this year we did not receive any public comments when this guide was in its public comment period to any of those proposed updates. So just to keep you all updated on that as well. So next, as everyone has already done, you'll develop your project with feedback from your partners in DNR, regional AIS coordinators in mind. At this point, you'll be consulting that applicant guide a lot. Counties will want to begin work on both the application and the scope of work template. This is also when the county will need to decide if they're going to take their own single allotment or use a designated agent. Additionally, at this time, designated agents can begin reaching out to county staff that they've previously worked with or are interested in working with to see if the county is interested in being partners for the LMPN. And then in this case, the designated agent will begin working on the application and editing the cooperative agreement. So as we get into early September, in the past, we've had a deadline of September 1st, but this year we moved everything back by 2 weeks and our pre-application deadline was September 15th. So again, making sure that you're checking that applicant guide and keeping up to date on deadlines is important. But once it's been determined if the county will take single allotment or partner with a designated agent, that pre-application is going to be due early September. The pre-app looks a little different depending on which route the county chooses. So if you normally take your single allotment as a county and are considering using a designated agent perhaps in future cycles, just know that the pre-application cycle as well as or pre-application process as well as the final application process looks a little bit different. But generally a pre-app will include full contact information and the correct allocation listed for the county or counties, an estimated budget on that application form or the pre-app form, and then the proposed grant activities. And then we do encourage pulling together a draft authorizing resolution if able. But it's okay if not everything is completely figured out at this point. Returning LMPN participants are not required to submit a pre-application, though this is a great time to start getting in touch with either designated agents or DNR AIS coordinators to help start firming up your plans for this cycle. And then the time between your pre-app application and final application obviously is used for revising and refining your application. Any recommendations from your coordinator or grant specialists should be incorporated into that final application, and the budget should be finalized before you enter or before you submit that final app. So when we get to early November, again, this year we pushed the cycle back by 2 weeks, and we had a final application deadline of November 15th. Again, just make sure that you're checking our applicant guide and our websites, our press releases to verify when the application deadline is. Again, the final application is going to vary depending on if the county is taking a single allotment or partnering with a designated agent. But if a single county is receiving the allocation, that cooperator prepares and will eventually submit the application, scope of work, and authorizing resolution. If a designated agent is receiving the allocation, each county prepares an application as well as a signed cooperative agreement that's signed by both the county and the designated agent. And then the designated agent prepares and eventually submits an authorizing resolution, authorizing them to take on those LMPN funds, as well as the final application package of the different applications and the cooperative agreements from each county. Applications can be submitted via email or mail, although I think most folks on this call are aware that email is by far the preferred method of submittal. By emailing, you receive basically twofold confirmation that your application has been received, as you get an automatic reply from the inbox, as well as a reply from the person, myself, who takes in that application and processes it. As well, it just gets to us a lot faster, and there's less risk of it, possibly taking longer to get to my desk as it goes through interdepartmental mail or getting lost in the mail in general. Let's move on. From December to January, we start working very diligently on getting the LMPN grant agreement sent out, especially because the LMPN starts much earlier than the rest of our general surface water grants. So upon successful completion of an LMPN application, grant agreements will be generated and sent out via email to each county or designated agents, and then each cooperator will then have 30 days to sign and return that grant agreement to the department, specifically back to myself. It's also pretty important to note here that many LMPN cooperators will begin having grant closeout responsibilities from the previous grant cycle. So for instance, during this December through January, folks who participated in the grant cycle of 2022 for LMPN had to start thinking about closing out their grants while also waiting for grant agreements for 2023 to come in. But we'll have more on those steps coming down this timeline. So on the first of the year, January 1st, or on the start date that is listed on your grant agreement, the grant period officially begins, and any expense incurred on or after this date is eligible to be put on the 2023 LMPN reimbursement request coming up. And as a very quick reminder on the LMPN funding, which you would have seen the details of in your grant agreement that everybody has signed and returned. LMPN is 100% cost share grants, so no match is required. So again, keep that in mind as well as you're filling out your final requests for reimbursement. You'll receive 90% of your grant award as an advance payment, and then request that final 10% of that grant award once you have finished out the grant period and submit that final repayment request. The grant period is from January 1st to December 31st of each year. And counties are receiving between $90,014 to $25,214 based on an allocation model that splits $1 million across all counties in Wisconsin. So as we move into early January into February, all agreements at this point for us have been sent out for the 2023 LMPN grant cycle. Most, if not all, but I'm pretty sure it's all agreements have been signed and returned to me. I will be doing a final review of agreements shortly and we'll be in touch if there's any follow-up needed. If you don't hear from me, obviously, I don't have any questions. There's no follow-up needed. But please note, it is on this agreement, this grant agreement, that you indicate whether or not your organization or your entity will opt for receiving the 90% grant advance of your allocation or allocations. So this is where I determine there's a checkbox that you would check in that grant agreement that will let me know that you're requesting that 90% grant advance. And then I will begin processing it. So into February, this is where we are in the cycle for our 2023 LMPN grants. Once signed agreements have been returned to the DNR and the department's funding has been finalized, we're able to begin requisitioning funds for the LMPN grants and can start sending out the grant advances for the program. As an update to you all, I just received the go-ahead to begin requisitions, so I will begin processing advances once all funds have been encumbered. As a quick reminder, counties taking their single allocation will directly receive that 90% grant advance, whereas counties that have designated an agent, that agent will directly receive that 90% grant advance. So then, once we make it past February, you've received all of your advance payments. Throughout the year, you're going to be carrying out our LMPN activities. So the county or designated agent will be required to send progress reports to their DNR AIS coordinator. And to clarify, those are our regional AIS biologists. I believe Amy introduced them all as. So Shelby, Tyler, Patrick, Alex, and Amanda. Those are the folks that you'll be working with. And those are the folks you've been working with as well through this application process. So The frequency of reporting will be listed on the grant agreement. At minimum, 1 progress report and 1 final report are required for all grants, but just be sure to check your agreement. And note that this step will be occurring as you will be both carrying out grant activities, but also preparing and planning for the oncoming grant cycle. So in this instance, the 2024 grant cycle, and also as future guidance is coming out and being published. So the LMPN grant period ends on December 31st. All eligible expenses for the grants must be incurred on or before this date. All relevant data must also be entered into SWIMS by this date. You'll notice that this period of the grant will be occurring shortly after the final application is due and has been processed, and also around the same time as grant agreements are sent out for the next grant cycle. You'll likely want to begin, working on your final report and reimbursement requests, gathering your records during this period of the cycle as well, just to be prepared for, early of the next year, having to submit those reports and reimbursement requests. So by February 28th, the final report is due to your DNR AIS coordinator. And then the payment request, so that reimbursement request for final payment is also due to EGS, or in this case, to me. It just has to be in by then. If not, you're going to start getting a lot of emails from me, kind of chasing you down, not chasing you down, but tracking down, checking in and reminding you that we do need those reimbursement requests to come in. There are no extremely strict requirements on reporting other than that the reports should be short and cover the activities listed on the application materials. And typically a county will submit the final report and reimbursement request at the same time. Once I receive approval of that final report, then I will be able to move forward with reviewing your reimbursement requests and processing it as applicable. We do have a template for that reporting form that's available for your use. A reporting form for the 2022 LMPN grant cycle is available on the UW box site that Jeannie gave us a nice tour of just before I came on. That'll be in that LMPN folder, the resources there. You can also, probably contact your DNR coordinator or myself to get access to this form as well, just to give you multiple ways of getting to it. To access the reimbursement request form, you can navigate to the DNR Surface Water Grants website, same place that you find the guidance document, and then find the reimbursements tab on that front page. I have circled it in red here on this particular slide, but there are a bunch of different tabs that you can navigate through on the website, and you'll want reimbursement. And then from there, you will want to scroll down to the forms section and download the grant payment request worksheet, which is form 8700-001. And that will pull that up for you, and then you'll enter your information into it, and it is a reactive form. So as you fill in the worksheet where you're listing all of your expenses, it will start to fill in the information regarding, grantee share, grant request, and then how much you're eligible to receive. So reimbursement procedures are similar to other surface water grants. To submit the payment request for the remaining 10% of the grant award, you use that form 8700-001, though the DNR cost share will be 100% as opposed to the 75 or 67% that we see on other surface water grants. All of our surface water grants use that same form. So I think it might, I don't think it auto-populates the percentage for the cost share, but just make sure that you're putting in 100% just in case it does auto-populate and I'm misremembering. Then the cooperators will still submit receipts and proof of payment based on the expenses that you incurred under the grant. And since the cooperator will be receiving 90% of the grant award amount as an advance payment, you'll need to submit all expenses for the grant period as a final payment request in order to receive the remaining 10% of the grant reward. So any expenses that you've incurred, you'll want to include all of them on that final payment request. Just as a special note, the payment request deadline does occur shortly after the grants for the next cycle have been awarded. Most final reports and reimbursement requests come in while grant staff, so including myself and Laura, are working very diligently to get LMPN grant agreements out and to finalize funding to get approval for sending out the advances of the next cycle. So as I mentioned earlier, I've just received the go-ahead to begin encumbering LMPN grant funds. So it's my full intention to prioritize LMPN advance payments as well as LMPN reimbursement requests over the next few weeks and get those advances in the hands of our LMPN cooperators as soon as possible so that you can begin your work, your important work. And kind of as an add-on to that, I'm very grateful for everybody that I've been working with so far this year. Everyone's been very responsive and very helpful in getting the things that I need to be able to process everything very quickly. Like I said, I think I have all of the grant agreements back to me already, and I have a good amount of final reports and final reimbursement requests already in my inbox waiting for processing, which is huge so that I can begin really digging into those and getting those taken care of as fast as I can. And additionally, I'm very thankful for everybody's patience as we're coming down through the very hectic portion of the grant cycle. And it really has been a great time working with everybody and getting to know all of our cooperators over the past year and a half that I've been in the position. So all of the information that you've seen today can all be found on the websites, the DNR Surface Water Grant websites. It can all be found in the guidance document. It's very long, but extremely useful and contains a lot of information on the different grants that we have, but also how to apply project management after the grant is awarded, what's an eligible expense, what isn't ineligible. If you haven't already, we highly recommend signing up for our Gov Delivery newsletter. This is where you'll get updates on when we release our applicant guide, our updates to that, when we have a comment period for it. We'll make announcements about deadlines and everything like that. You're always welcome to reach out with general questions to the DNR Surface Water Grants inbox. The email address is listed there on the slide. You can also reach out to me as well directly if you have any questions, especially in regards to, what's an eligible expense. If you're looking to clarify if something is eligible or not, it's always good to kind of reach out to me and get confirmation that something would be eligible or ineligible in writing, so that when it comes time for me to review your reimbursement request, maybe 7 months ago you asked about something, and it would be helpful to be able to pull that up when I am processing your reimbursement to remember that I approved it or something to that effect. Any other questions on like program processes, stuff like that can be sent to me, or I'm sure questions can also be sent to your DNR AIS coordinators. And then additional resources in addition to that would be that UW Madison box site that Jeannie did such a great job of giving us a tour of, as well as that Google site is very much available as well. But other than that, I don't have anything else to present on, but I think I probably finished a little fast, so we could take a couple of minutes for any questions that folks might have.
So let's see. Sarah, can you clarify? Lisa had asked about where to send, where to go, the report. She was in the agreement, it said to send it to Alex, but now he's in, it still said Eau Claire at the time. Where did you say to send those reports to?
The regional AIS coordinator or biologist. So if you've been sending it to Alex, continue sending it to Alex at whatever, I guess, Alex, whichever address is going to work for you.
Okay, and then Tom had a question, and then we'll save any other questions for the Q&A, Tom, or Q&A time. About, I have heard there's a possibility for the DNR Surface Water Grants Program to be moving to an online platform program. Will this happen in the near future?
Yeah, there will be updates forthcoming about that. We are working on moving away from Adobe PDFs. I don't, again, Laura's not on the call, but she is actually on this.
I am here actually.
Oh, Laura, hello. Do you want to chime in on that?
I just snuck in. Yeah, I mean, I'm afraid I don't know that much. Basically, we are, the department is contracting with a third-party service provider, I guess, to develop an online grant system, like e-grant system as we're calling it. It is something that's been in the works for a very long time. Supposedly it is going to be rolled out this summer, but I have seen very little about it. So my expectations aren't too grand, but so yeah, I guess stay tuned on that. I am well aware of all of the issues regarding the PDFs everybody's having, and we are at our wits' end with it as much as you all are. So we will let you know as soon as we know about those next steps.
Yes. And we'll certainly push out information on how to apply with the new service and everything as needed.
Yeah, we'll definitely be hosting trainings as well as having print resources, etc. So stay tuned. And if you're not subscribed to that Dove Delivery updates for the Surface Water Program, please do so. Ensure that you get the latest information.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. And like I said, any more questions, we'll go ahead and deal with them in the Q&A time. So I'm going to just have this up here for 1 second, and I'm going to stop sharing because next up, we're going to have Emily Heald talk about what's going on with Project Red and Snapshot.
Thank you, Jeannie. Just let me share my screen here. How's that look, Jeannie? So everyone can see my screen, right?
Looks good to me, Emily.
Okay, thank
Good,
you.
Emily.
All right, perfect.
Sorry, I
Thank you very
muted
much.
myself and then I answered you.
Well, I appreciate everyone's feedback. So hi again, I'm Emily Heald. I'm the Rivers Educator for, again, UW-Madison Division of Extension. And I coordinate Project Red as well as Snapshot Day. So I have 2 small presentations for you today. First up is Project Red, which stands for Riverine Early Detectors. And Project Red is pretty straightforward. It's AIS monitoring on any moving water, so rivers and streams. Little update in this year, 2023, it was previously coordinated by River Alliance, but it has since moved to be coordinated by me. And I'm within, again, UW-Madison Extension, and it's housed within the Water Action Volunteers Program, which is our volunteer science program to monitor streams in Wisconsin. So if you are familiar with CLMN AIS program, it's very similar to that, where volunteers simply will visit a section of river, keeping their eyes peeled for invasive species. They collect specimens or photograph suspicious plants and animals. They verify their findings with a local coordinator, which is all y'all, and then they share and report their findings via swims. So in terms of what I can provide to you, or what can Project Red help you out with? We provide training templates and sample agendas for your trainings. The agendas cover suggested time spent on different aspects of the training, as well as general flow for the training. So if you haven't done training before, or if you're looking for tips and tricks on how to run a training, those are the resources for you. And the training templates cover the background of Project Red, the protocols, identification of various invasive species, and how to enter data. Those templates are very long, so similar to other programs, they're very long and they're made to be modified by you to be what works for you. And so they're mostly just a suggestion on how to run your trainings. We can also provide limited supplies. Most of the time, we have funding for some rakes, some throw rakes, but it depends on the year. So if you're looking for rakes, just check in with me. We provide volunteer handbooks and identification guides. We can also provide you with data sheets, or you're welcome to print your own. And I'm always happy to provide training support and attendance at your training. So if this is your first year doing Project Red training, or maybe you just want a little extra help, just let me know. I'm happy to travel statewide to assist you with your trainings. If you are participating in Project Red as part of your LMPN requirements, there are some things that you provide as well. You'll provide the main training to your volunteers. So again, let me know if you want assistance here. You assist the volunteers with their swims data entry as needed. Again, if you have questions on swims or anything like that, I'm also very willing to help with that. And then you also support the volunteers along their volunteer journey, helping them verify and identify their findings as needed. Meanwhile, the volunteers go out into the field and monitor for AIS while they're doing anything on moving water. So paddling, fishing, wading, walking, really, doing anything on moving water. People are welcome to monitor for AIS while they're doing those things. And if you're interested in learning more about Project Red, I have a couple of resources for you listed here. First of all, Box, like Jeannie has mentioned before, it has all the templates and training materials. Those are being updated this spring, so keep an eye out for those. Those should be all updated and ready for you to go by probably about early March. There's also photos in there if you need them for training purposes. There is a folder in Box, it's called Project Red, and that has all the information you need. And then we have a website for Project Red. It's housed again within the Water Action Volunteers website. So it's just wateractionvolunteers.org/Project Red. Or you're always welcome to contact me directly about getting started or to help host a training. So my email address and phone number are listed here for you. And I have them listed in a couple other places in the presentation too. So if you are worried about getting that written down right away, don't worry about it. We'll give it to you again. So in addition to Project Red, I also coordinate the annual statewide AIS Snapshot Day, which this year is held on Saturday, August 19th. Mark your calendars, please. As far as what Snapshot Day is, it's a one-day statewide event where volunteers search for AIS at designated locations by site, hosted by site leaders. So you can see on this map from 2020, each of these little squares is a rendezvous location hosted by a site leader. So volunteers meet at those locations to learn how to identify and search for invasive species, and then they go out to several sites to monitor for AIS. So last year, our volunteers monitored 92 different monitoring sites across 64 water bodies. So those were lakes, rivers, and wetlands. So it's a very robust event that we have here. The goals of Snapshot Day are to, first of all, obviously identify new infestations of invasive species, but also to educate new audiences about invasive species. It's a great educational event for people to learn more about invasive species. Based on surveys in the past that we do them every year. A lot of times this event is people's first time that they're learning about aquatic invasive species. And so it's a really great opportunity to educate those new audiences about invasive species and inspire them to action. And then also it's a great opportunity for you as part of LMPN to recruit AIS volunteers for your future monitoring and management efforts, because a lot of times these volunteers have said they go out and monitor for invasive species and they say, what now? They want to keep helping. And so it's a great opportunity for all y'all to gain new folks to help you out. As the statewide coordinator, I provide a few things to help you on your journey to be a site leader. We provide site leader training virtually, which is basically step-by-step how to lead a snapshot day. We also provide a set of handbooks. There's one for site leaders. Again, it has all the information that you need on how to lead a successful snapshot day. There's a handbook for volunteers that has background information and protocols. And then there's also a social media toolkit to help you in your promotion of the event. We also have a centralized volunteer process, which is nice because volunteers just have to go to one place to register for the event. And then I disseminate that volunteer information back to you. We provide supplies, so we have pre-filled data sheets, baggies, swag bags with the Snapshot Day logo on them, throw rakes, and then we also provide sprayers and decon gear. We assist with the statewide promotion of the event. We provide a virtual volunteer training session for the volunteers so that they can come to your trainings with a little bit of background knowledge. And then after Snapshot Day, we provide reporting infographics for you to share back for your volunteers. As a site leader participating in Snapshot Day, you also have a few key duties. You will need to assist me in more localized promotion of the event. So you know your local news sources and groups better than I do. So using the tools in the social media kit, getting a hold of your local news sources, promoting the event on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all the social media sources that you use. I do my own statewide promotion of the event, but I can't hit all of the news sources. So just a little extra assistance with that is great. You obviously host the Snapshot Day training event, which includes finding a training location, providing some hands-on day of volunteer training, including identification of invasive species and protocols, and then providing volunteers with maps and directions to the monitoring stations. So the stations can be chosen by you, or you can work with your regional DNR AIS coordinator to choose those appropriate sites. And then finally, once the event is over, site leaders are responsible for entering data on behalf of their volunteers. As far as what volunteers do, if this wasn't obvious to you, after the training, volunteers will visit their designated sites to search for invasive species. They have a data sheet that they fill out, and then they bring any suspect samples back to you for verification and reporting. So where to get more info on Snapshot Day, head on over to the box as usual to see what's been done in previous years. There's a Snapshot Day folder. We also have an event set up under the WAVE website. So if you go to the Water Action Volunteers website, it's under events. We also have a Facebook page for Snapshot Day that we use for promotions. And then most of the communication from Snapshot Day comes directly from me through email. I send out the initial site leader sign up information through the LMPN listserv and direct emails to past site leaders. And then once you're signed up as a site leader, I send direct emails to those who sign up to be site leaders. So speaking of those direct emails, just as a heads up for a couple dates that we have here, I'll be sending out the first email to LMPN and past site leaders in early March regarding signing up to be a site leader. So be on the lookout for that. I'll send a couple emails as reminders. And then I have a couple dates in mind. The dates are set, but no times yet. So if you want to mark your calendars, that's great. But if not, again, I'll be sending emails to you. The site leader training will be on May 4th, with the site leader sign up being due on May 12th. And then site selection is due on June 2nd. So again, if you don't want to memorize those dates, that's fine. Just know I'll be in touch. And again, here is my contact info one last time for you.
Thank you. That was a mouthful. So I'm gonna, oh, I don't even have to ask him. Paul is ready to go.
All right, thank you, Emily. I'm going to be touching on a little bit of an overview to the Citizen Lake Monitoring Network, but a bunch of this is going to be more reminders since there's a lot of you on the call that have been doing this for a while. And I just wanted to remind you of a few things as we go into the next season. So for those of you who are new, the Wisconsin Citizen Lake Monitoring Network is one of the largest and longest running volunteer water monitoring programs in the whole country. We have, for the last 15 or so years, had over 1,000 volunteers per year participating, and a lot of those volunteers are supported by you, the people on this call. We do have 2 websites. One is the Extension Lakes website. That's where you find a lot of educational resources and support materials for not only you, but the volunteers as well. We have tutorial videos on the website. We have the forms that you might need to enter data. A lot of that stuff is available through the Extension Lakes website. The DNR website is more data heavy and contact heavy. So if you need to know who your regional contact is or find a lake data report for an individual lake in your area, that's where you would go. And we have support staff across the state. So I am based in Stevens Point. We have a few support staff in Madison, like Jake Dickman, handling data entry and the SWIMS database. And then we have a bunch of regional citizen lake monitoring staff around the state in the various offices you see listed here. And our volunteers monitor not only aquatic invasive species, but water clarity and chemistry and ice cover and things like that as well. So here's a graph of our participation. You can see we've been holding steady at like the 1,100 or so number for quite a while, with the exception of a couple of odd years where we had a very hard push for AIS monitoring in the 2010 time period, and then we had COVID that dropped participation a bit as well. So zebra mussel monitoring is where a bunch of the more recent changes have happened, and so that's what I wanted to primarily remind you of on this call here. Previously, for early detection of zebra mussels, we would have a PVC pyramid sampler that we hung off the dock, and we are moving toward using a brick now instead of this PVC pyramid, just because they're easier to find, much less expensive, logistically much easier to handle. And zebra mussels will readily colonize pretty much anything hard. So it's just as effective, but it's easier for everyone involved. So it involves hanging a brick off the pier and checking it once a month, and you're looking visually and with your fingertips trying to see if there are any zebra mussels starting to attach to this brick. If there are not, you lower it back down for another month. If there are, then you take photos and email those to your regional AIS coordinator or regional Citizen Lake Monitoring Network coordinator. And then we would move that volunteer toward a plate sampler for quantitative monitoring instead of early detection monitoring. And it's important to remember to remind your volunteers that reporting no zebra mussels found is just as important as reporting that you did find them. We have a lot of AIS volunteers that self-report that they are active in AIS monitoring, but if we look at the numbers that actually entered data for that particular time period, it's half or a third of the number that the people who say they are actively monitoring. So we want to make sure that they are reporting their data even if they didn't find anything. So this is the other method where we're still using the PVC plate samplers, the pyramid samplers, and that is for quantitative monitoring. So we're monitoring the quantity of zebra mussels in on the plates here. And this involves a similar method, 1 foot off the bottom, hanging it from a rope off of a pier. And actually that shouldn't be checked once per month. That should be checked at the end of the season. So the brick is once a month. This one is actually at the end of the season. You leave it in for the whole season long. And then we are recording a density ranking of 0, 1, 2, and 3 for each of those plates, the top and the bottom side. And you can see that on the new data sheet here, which is new as of last year. So some of you may have used this last year. You can see at the bottom of the sheet, we're giving a ranking to the density on the top of plate 1, bottom of plate 1, and so on down the line with all 4 of the plates. And the 0, 1, 2, 3 is here in the header for that area. That is giving us a relative amount of zebra mussels on each of those plates without having to actually count them, which is what we used to request that volunteers did. So it's a more efficient and probably a more enjoyable way of doing it compared to the previous protocol. I'll remind everybody that these videos are out there, but especially if you're new at this, This is a really good way to become familiar with the different methods that our volunteers use as part of the Citizen Lake Monitoring Network. Most of these videos are about 5 minutes or so long. So it gives you a solid idea of what the volunteers are doing, how the equipment is used, what kind of equipment is used, and runs through the protocols with you. So go to YouTube and search for Extension Lakes. That'll bring up the Extension Lakes YouTube channel, and you can search for CLMN training videos, and you can find a playlist with all of these videos right there. Last slide here, I just want to say, similar to what Emily said before, if this is your first year, I'm happy to help. Please let me know if you'd like me to travel to your part of the state and assist you with running a volunteer training or an AIS workshop. I'm happy to do that. I can provide some specimens, maybe even collect some live stuff if I have time the day or two before. I'm happy to help out with that. So don't feel like it's your first workshop and you're all by yourself. Ask people who are in counties surrounding you, maybe they can help out, or certainly contact me and I'll come out there and help you as well. So here's my contact information. I'll leave it up there just for a second and then we can keep moving on.
Great, thank you, Paul. So as soon as you unshare it, then I'll share because I'm up next. Thanks. All righty. So Jeannie share back this time about Purple Loosestrife Biocontrol. But I have to give kudos to Emily because I think she made that little beetle herself, or someone she worked with did. I think she did. Anyway, so Purple Loosestrife Biocontrol, as most of you know, has been going on forever in the state since the mid-90s. And we do have a listserv, so I send out a lot of information. They tend to be long emails because it's not like the LMPN newsletter where we've got something every week. I might only send something once every month or two. So I did just send something out today. It's a reminder that actually this last bullet that I also put into the chat, the link for the registration, that there's going to be a Q&A session on February 16th from 1 to 2. So people have to pre-register for it. I mean, they can do it 5 seconds before the training starts, but we'll get back to that one in a second. And I plan on sending out some other fun stuff that I've come across this week if I have time to get that newsletter or the email out to everyone besides the reminder. So if you're a first-time biocontrol person, or if you've signed up for it for the first time, or even if this is your second year and you're like, oh gosh, I still am confused, please get a hold of me and we can talk things through. Depending on where you are and time and all that, I can make site visits. The biggest thing when people get started is if you don't already know where the patches are, don't worry about it. Your biocontrol for that year, this year, if that's the case for you, is actually going to be more along the lines of check in into what's out there. Getting familiar with your county and seeing, do you even have a purple loosestrife problem? Looking at the patches you do find and seeing if you can find beetle activity, that kind of thing. And then you can start building your program from there. If you're doing straight up monitoring and that's part of it, then of course work with your regional coordinator to get that data into SWIMS, and I can help with that too. But for anything monitoring, you should definitely be working with your coordinator, at least have them looped in, even if you're working with me, because I'll loop them in one way or the other. They're going to be looped in. So right now it's time to get new permit applications in. We do the permits not as controlling for the beetles. It's because purple loosestrife is a restricted species, and if you're going to be moving it from place to place, you have to have a DNR DNR NR40 permit to do so. If you have a three-year permit, which we started doing in the last year, Still need to make sure I know what your net needs are, if you have any, if you're going to have any new dig or rearing locations, any changes in the number of plants to be raised. So I did send out emails to everybody with those 3-year permits back in December. If I haven't heard back from you, I'll probably check back in, but I'm also going to put this kind of in a, probably in a survey form to send into the next newsletter, excuse me, email. And then, of course, do not forget that we have this. So we have our Purple Loosestrife Biocontrol website. This identification sheet is the brochure, basically, that we use. I have those in stock. You can always get more. Down here is where the nitty gritty is. One of my favorite parts is the little mini guide, because it's colorful. It's got a lot of pictures. People like to look at it. We've got things in bullet lists, so it's a nice way to just show people what's going on real quick. And then last year at this time, I was very busily making these videos, and partners provided a lot of the material that went into these videos. So thank you again for that. So make sure you're checking those out, because the reason that I'm doing a Q&A instead of a training is because all the information is basically here, and you can break it up and take your time over the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and then just bring me your questions. If there's something brand new, I'll fill people in during the Q&A too. Right this minute, I'm not thinking of anything. We do have the forms here on in the when I do the emails, I almost always send the forms along as PDFs, because as we know, we have some problems sometimes with these forms. We won't beat the dead horse, as they say. We all know that. And those are very important. The reporting piece is important. And then there's educational materials here and the Chow. Training opportunity. I need to get a hold of the DNR folks to update and put our Q&A here. But if, like I said, if besides site visits, if you're in a location where we can work something out, that if you'd like me to come out and work with you with a group, I'm very happy to do that. That's basically all I've got. So I'm going to stop sharing so that Erin can go next.
All right. Can you see a big blue PowerPoint slide? All right.
It is there.
Okay. Still getting used to having 2 screens. Hi, everyone. Erin here again with the Clean Boats, Clean Waters program. I'm going to try to provide a brief overview of our program for those of you who are not familiar with it, and just mention a few things as trainers for Clean Boats, Clean Waters that you might want to know. We will be having a more in-depth training session for those of you who will be conducting Clean Boats, Clean Waters, watercraft inspection trainings for lake groups and community members, citizen lake monitoring, AIS monitoring trainings. So don't think this is all of the information you're going to get. This is just the quick overview portion. There we go. So if you're not familiar with our Clean Boats, Clean Waters watercraft inspection program, our goal is to provide the resources and training and support to the folks in communities so that they can provide education to the boaters and anglers who are visiting their boat landings on what aquatic invasive species are and how they can prevent. We work with volunteers, with staff. There's LTEs throughout the region that help. But a lot of the folks you'll be working with will be individuals with lake associations, lake districts, and lake group. This program actually started in 2004, originally by some junior high students way up in northern Wisconsin. So it really is a grassroots effort of providing education at the local level to make a statewide and even regional difference, which we'll talk about the regional aspect here in a minute. And thank you, Emily. I think you took this great photo of the Turtle Lakes Association. And I just want to mention, if you're not familiar with why Wisconsin does watercraft inspection, Carol sort of mentioned this earlier about it's a very cost-effective prevention mechanism and for containment. But we also have research that's been done by John Roethlisberger and the Nature Conservancy that shows that doing these visual inspections can be just as effective on certain types of aquatic invasive species as actual boat washing. And so it isn't just because we think it's a fun thing to do. There is a lot of research that shows it's effective, and for the cost that we get, it's a very cost-effective program. Also, I always share with our folks who are interested in getting involved, it's a great way to get to know your lake better and what aquatic invasive species are in your lake, and to actually make a difference and take action. So our main goals through the Clean Boats program is, again, educating those boaters and anglers and anyone visiting the boat landing about what aquatic invasive species are and how they're spread. We also want to engage them in taking the right steps to make sure they're preventing the spread of these different invasives before they enter the water body and before they leave the water body. And then we also collect some data. So you can see someone here, they've got their data sheet with their clipboard and they're having a conversation. And so that's sort of our main focus with Clean Boats, Clean Waters, is having that engaging conversation about those prevention steps at the boat landing. Briefly, I want to share just some roles as individuals who are going to be conducting trainings and training these lake groups and lake associations and other people in the community about how to do Clean Boats, Clean Waters. These are some ways that you help me out and help all the other program leads out. Obviously, would let us know when you're going to have trainings so we can help advertise them. We will provide resources, and as I mentioned, even more training for you about what we have available for you to share with these individuals. So we have publications and hard copy form. We have online training videos, PowerPoint presentations. We have a lot of it already canned that we can provide to you. And it's also helpful for us if you collect some information about where you're conducting these trainings and who is trained, so that that can get back into the SWIMS database, which I think Jake or Jeannie are going to be talking about. And you're probably sick of hearing this, but one of the really important roles, there's so many different things that the Lake Monitoring and Protection Network helps out with, but in this way, you are able to provide this local connection with these individuals, either at a county or regional basis, that at a statewide level, it's very difficult for those of us at that level to provide. And so it's so important that you're able to make these connections with these folks and offer these resources. And we really, really appreciate your support and help. There's really nothing like being able to have that personal experience and getting to know these lake groups and helping them out. A lot of resources. This is a really general list, but luckily I wasn't sure what Jeannie was going to review at first, but she's already showed you the AIS partnership box. So that's kind of another screenshot of that. You contact Jeannie if you're not already connected, but that's a great way to find actually all of our program resources, but Clean Boats, Clean Waters also, and the Clean Boats, Clean Waters website that we have on the Extension Lakes UWSP page. There are many resources there. There's a lot of videos, and I'll go through those more thoroughly when we have also the Wisconsin AIS Partnership Google site that's created I use that all the time. It's really helpful as well to find resources. So I'm going to wrap up here. I want to mention a couple of the statewide campaigns that we have regarding AIS prevention that are Clean Boats, Clean Waters is a part of. One of them is the drain campaigns that always occurs the first weekend in June on DNR's free fishing weekend. So the dates this year will be June 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Our goal around these campaigns is to provide more information on one of the prevention steps. So the drain campaign, we want to increase everyone's understanding of what our drain laws are, that they can ice their catch and drain the water from the live well and still keep their fish fresh. And so just kind of encouraging the knowledge and awareness of that. I keep hitting my desk here. And then the other campaign I wanted to mention was the landing blitz. And that one's even more of a push, trying to get out on a really busy weekend. So it's always over the 4th of July timeframe. Get as many watercraft inspectors as we can out, just sharing that AIS prevention message. And so this is something Wisconsin has done for quite a few years now. But this year in 2023, we're going to also mimic the dates and align our dates with the Great Lakes region, which I think is going to be a really cool effort. So we're going to expand the time frame. So it's going to be through June 30th through July 9th. So that's going to be matching up with Michigan, Minnesota, Illinois, Indiana, New York. I'm forgetting some of the states that I'm involved. So it's the entire Great Lakes region. So that's just sort of an update for this year regarding the landing blitz, but I know Jeannie said she will be getting into contact with folks regarding the drain campaign very soon, right, Jeannie? Sending out a poll to see what interest is out there. So you'll be learning more information about these campaigns soon. And thank you, Jeannie, for sharing this picture, and for Derek and stuff for posing. So here's my contact information. To get that quickly, but please let me know what questions you have, and more information will be coming soon about the training that we'll offer, very likely in a webinar for both Clean Boat, Citizen Lake Monitoring, Project Red, probably Snapshot Day. Thank you.
They go on and on, our projects. Okay, next up is Jake and I, but Jake is first. So let's see, are we seeing the swims update screen here, Jake?
Yep, I can see it.
All right, so I'll just move on to the next one.
Okay, so for a lot of you folks on this call, you are aware that the SWIMS interface has undergone a redesign. We're at our final stretches of it for this fiscal year of implementing and updating the interface and rolling it out. So I'm just going to give a brief timeline on what the remainder of this fiscal year looks like for the SWIMS redesign. And what that means for training for DNR staff, partners, and external volunteers. In mid-February, SWIMS staff will be sending out some communication to all SWIMS users on the timeline for this transition. So in early to mid-March, we are working pretty quickly and hard on the My Projects area, something you've either been familiar with or are familiar with. And we're working on getting that implemented into the new interface. And at that time, we'll be updating landing pages, such as web pages, with the new SWIMS links and user resources. At that time, I think that's a great time to start training our volunteers on using the new interface, or providing links to resources where they can review themselves, either a short user guide or the complete SWIMS user guide. The My Projects area is pretty heavily used by the volunteers as a way to look at their projects, what they're associated to, and to quickly add data or documents. So it's a pretty important area, and something we're working very hard to get up into the interface. In mid to late April, we'll begin the process of retiring the old SWIMS application, known as the Java SWIMS application. Redirects from the Java version to the .NET version, which is the new version, will be put in place. So while technically that application, Java application, is up and running still, at that time in mid-April or late April, we'll be redirecting users from those links to the new SWIMS link. And then in late May, we'll be retiring the Java SWIMS application. No more Java access. A lot of DNR resources that are in that platform are no longer being supported. So at the end of this fiscal year, those will all go away. So if you have any questions on that, yeah, Jeannie, we should have a funeral. Just put a copy of it on the floppy disk or something, I don't know, and burn it. Yeah, so if you have any questions on that process, let me know. Like I mentioned, I will be having some communication out to all external users, and I'll be sure to keep you guys in the loop as well on that.
All right. Well, I did once have a job where we all went through so many shoes that we had a funeral for all our shoes at the end of the season. But yeah, floppy disk funeral. So, so SWIMS training. So lots going on there. Jake, that's, you know, within this, of course, is getting guides updated. So if you've been following in our partnership newsletters, we've been letting people know, besides the link to use, that the guide is on the website, and of course, when you go to the help resources up in the toolbar, and every time Jake gets an update made to that, it's just automatic. So though if you go to it now, you'll see parts that aren't quite done yet, but that's all continually being updated as he can. And then he's starting some coffee hours this week for DNR staff and the external program coordinators. It's considered the internal folks. And then we'll probably both be doing some coffee breaks a little later in the spring. So keep an eye out for that. And then I'm going to be doing some swims bites. Get that? We have small bites. We'll have some swims bites. And that is the doodle poll I put in the newsletter this past week. And I also have it in the chat. If you scroll up to the towards the top of the chat, I have that doodle poll in there so that people can register. And we only want 5 people. So when you go to the doodle poll, if you see 5 people already answered for a particular date and time, make sure you pick something else. Because the idea is we want to go over a few things here, but mostly it's going to be based on what you need. And I want it to be small enough groups that we can share screens without everybody waiting in line or something like that. So if you run into a funky problem, you can actually share your screen and we can see if we can get it figured out. And then I'll be doing a update of the swims training I've been offering in, I guess, late March and April, and then again in May. It'd probably be more towards the May time frame, but I'm not sure yet. But I'm going to get that full swims training for new users updated too. And then besides the full guide that is on the website, then we have written up a volunteer user guide that it just has the basics of what your volunteers need, that the program coordinators will put into their materials once it's ready, and then you guys can pull that out and use it too. But the it's written, but we have given it over to the Office of Communications at DNR to polish it up as far as the look and the way the links work, that kind of thing. So Jake, have you heard anything new about that lately?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Sorry,
Okay.
I was figuring that out. Yeah,
Okay.
not yet.
All right. So Jake will be giving them a nudge. And so that's what we got on that. And actually, that brings us a little later than we planned, but we are at Q&A time. So I was going back and forth and looking at the chat. I think we answered the questions that were in it so far. Do anybody have any questions on any of the topics that we just raced through? You can either put them in the chat or you may unmute and share that way. And if you have none, we'll just be done early. So there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, nothing's coming in. So I think we must be good to go. We are, of course, working towards plans for the spring meeting. You'll hear more about that as soon as we possibly can. And there'll be a registration type survey coming out for that. What else is coming out? I don't know. It'll be in the newsletter. I start writing the one for the upcoming week, usually about 10 minutes after one goes out the previous Wednesday. So everybody, thank you so much for your time. Thank you everybody who presented today. And I will get the recording stopped and we will have that eventually on the Google site.